Recently, I've been thinking quite a lot about what it means to be an English person or a British person, and how that relates to being an environmentalist, because a lot of the stuff we do is about the whole world. Um, but then a lot of stuff we also do is about very, very specific places with specific people, and it's a lot about, oh, I don't know how to say it. It's like you go to a place and people there are like really real, and they really, really care about the landscape, and it's very important to them who they are and their sense of identity. Now, we've got this really shit thing in this country, which is like loads of real kind of idiots like running around, like Nigel Farage and Tommy Robinson. But I don't know about you, but I sometimes I look at them and I go, well, they're saying that they kind of love, England and the people in it as well, but yet they don't really do anything except serve themselves, do they? I mean, they're not exactly self-sacrificing. They're just making their careers, getting loads of fame and money, getting loads of attention. But, meanwhile, things in England seem to get worse and worse. I mean, what's with that, And, they complain about it, but actually they're part of the problem there, you know? They're making the entire nation, the nation, weaker, And that seems to me like a very, very obvious thing. And it just seems to be that there's no space in the political landscape at the moment for saying, um, I really like the people in this country, even when they're a bit grumpy, you know. I really like the landscape. I cherish, the landscape, our plants and our animals and our birds, I think we have a good attitude potentially. It's like there's something that's gone wrong, but we can bring in an attitude which we've kind of got inside us as part of our identity, which can be very, very resilient, you know, very, very creative, very, very kind of, forward looking. While at the same time, it's something quite rootsy, you know what I mean? So, I think about that a lot. And the difference between those two different things is I think of it a lot like a lot of countries have a national anthem and then they have an unofficial national anthem. And the national anthem often seems to be about, you know, we're better than the other guys, like, um, fuck the Scottish or fuck the Welsh, we're better than them. There's quite a few lines in the English national anthem about that. Oh dear, it's like that's not a very good attitude to have to your neighbours, is it? And then there's kind of the unofficial national anthem, which is Jerusalem, like based on the William Blake poem Jerusalem, and it's and did these feet in ancient times walk along England's pastures green, and there's a lot about the landscape there, and the landscape being very beautiful and being quite special, and I think there's a lot more love of the country, and they like the physicalness of the country and the people there, whereas the official national anthem seems to be a lot more about this it's about the Queen. I mean, like, I sometimes I don't think of the royal family as being very British. They're all kind of paedophiles, aren't they? And like they're all like very odd people. I don't know anyone that's like the Queen or like Prince Charles or Prince William. They seem quite strange and alien to me. Maybe we should have a new monarchy. Maybe we should get rid of those pedos and like get someone new. I don't know. Um, so you notice this difference between the official nationalism and the unofficial patriotism, which is what a lot of people actually feel and don't always make a very big deal about, but is is always there. And it's kind of like, it's kind of like suddenly having this very, very loud and forthright person suddenly burst into your pub or your home and start talking about you and what you're about and who you should be and so on. And I think just a lot of people, increasingly they just switch off. They're like, that doesn't reflect on how I see myself or this country. This is just, someone's just trying to manipulate me here. And then you have things on the other side saying that, like, oh, liking your country, liking the people in it, that's always bad. You should care about the entire world equally, And yes, you should care about everyone. But also, it's quite natural to say, I got a particular special love for this place. I really like this place that I'm in, and I really want to see what's best for it. And after all, it's close to me. I can do more about things that happen close to me than I can about things on the other side of the world. And, this is what I see a lot about in environmentalism, like the HS2, anti-HS2 environmentalism. It's like people like, not on my watch, They're like, I almost said not in my backyard there. And I think that's kind of, this whole not in my backyard, is it wrong to care about your backyard? As long as you're kind of like, well, I care about your backyard as well. Maybe we should team up to protect all of our backyards. I think disparaging people for, caring about what's going on over their fence is just like, it's taking away something important from them. So, I think we need to kind of take that phrase, NIMBY, not in my backyard, and kind of tear it up a little bit and look at like who's promoting that idea that it's a bad thing. Why are they doing it? Let's think for a little second. Every time you go and disparage NIMBYs, and when it comes to the protests, it's the local people who are kind of, the heart and soul of the whole thing, and then there are people who come to live on camps, might have been there for quite some time, who have now, they've developed this connection with the landscape. They know all the plants and animals there, it means something to them, very important. Yeah. And this is something that, in a big sort of like corporate, consumerist, globalist world that, doesn't get paid much attention to, because everything's supposed to be exchangeable, one thing for another, in a big corporate, consumerist world. The idea that something's special or special to one person or is important, in a way that you can't put a price tag on, that just goes, that's sort of like, no, that's standing in the way of progress. Well, I don't think a lot of people want that sort of progress if it means they can't have, the beautiful landscape that they've grown up in, or they can't go and sit in a forest, or they can't have any, like, influence over what goes on in their communities. I think people say, no thanks, that's not my idea of progress whatsoever. That's someone else's idea of progress, and I'm, I don't believe them. But, that doesn't mean to say that we should all go back to some previous age, because, like, a lot about the past was a bit rubbish for a lot of people, So we've got to kind of, like, rather than being told what our idea of a good future is, being told what our idea of progress is, we've got to start thinking about it ourselves, We've got to say more of this, less of that, Start thinking about a beautiful vision of the future. Because, it's big time of change. Big time of change, and we can actually do a lot. We can do a lot if we put our minds to it.
So I've got myself down to Maple Farm, Environmentalist.